Hi there, my name is Nicole Hebert with the Moose Jaw Journey to Hope team, and this is Voices of Hope.
Hi, my name is Laura Deets. I am many things. I am a mother, I'm a student, I'm currently the chair of the Wakamow Aboriginal Community Association. I have been in the helping profession for quite some time, and I am currently not. It was a really weird change for me, so now I'm a student and I'm doing my Indigenous Communications diploma certificate at First Nations University. I do plan on continuing my education after my diploma. I am thinking of doing a justice degree. So I guess I got to a point where even though helping was rewarding, I loved my job, I will always be a helper, I got to a point where you can only help so much, and the systems that are there aren't always helpful in return. So even though I know I don't want to directly work for the government or this or that, I want to be able to have my voice heard in changing those systems, and that's what I'm looking at now. I don't know what capacity I'm going to do that with, and I just know that that's what I'd like to do. My journey with mental health has been long, and I think it's funny now when I look back. It started before I was even aware that it started. So my experience with Journey to Hope and the Hope Summit, I was one of the original Hope Summit speakers in 2016. And that was one of the first time I'd ever shared anything about my story in that type of setting to a very wide audience of people. If you heard my story, I have experience with addictions. I am a recovering addict, and I've been clean 12 years now. And that was a big part of my story, and coming into recovery and growing, and how I found that. And in 2016, when I shared, we were just 2 months past the death of my son's father, and having no idea that the next year would be as difficult as it was for both of our mental health, and trying to find help for my son became most important. And I think, like many mothers, any helpers, anyone, when you're trying to help other people, your mental health takes second fiddle. It's second place, and it should never be that way. But as a mother, how do you not put your son's needs ahead of yours? So finding help for my son became most important. My son struggles with mental health, especially after the death of his father. So I would be, blindly trying to find him help, having really no clue what I was doing. I think one of the hardest things with mental health is for most of us, as we're trying to learn the system and how things work. It's like a first time for us. There's no guide of how to find an appropriate mental health counselor, or how to find appropriate mental health help. And you just kind of got to go with the flow. And flow wasn't good for a very long time. I really struggled to find appropriate help for my son. I know one thing too, that I was asked often about trauma. And besides the death of my father, I was in denial. I was like, I can't think of anything traumatic. Yes, we've had this death, and can we not maybe do some grief work? Not really realizing at the moment we were living in trauma and trying our best to navigate it. And of course, having experience with addictions, in my mind, as long as I was clean, I was doing okay. And I was, but I was floundering and I wasn't doing very well. And it took me a couple years and a lot of traumatic events before I started to seek some more help for myself. And I did seek help for myself a few times, and I got some help. But because I wasn't in active addiction, because I wasn't self-harming myself, because I appeared to be doing okay in life, the help was minimal, and they didn't have time for me. And I really struggled with that. And I thought, when you're a strong person, it's hard to get help in life. It's hard to ask for help. And then when you do ask for help, it's hard to get that help. I did end up having to go outside the city for help. And funny's not the right word. And it took me more than once still, even outside of Moose Jaw, to find the appropriate help. Being a Métis Cree woman and having an experience of an Indigenous person and being discriminated against and on a daily basis sometimes, like even sometimes going to the store and having a bad experience, I would come home and I would feel, you feel horrible. And then if you don't realize what you're doing, you take that on in the rest of your day. You take that on as you're trying to raise your son, as you're trying to work, but it's really defeating. And then when I have to go to a mental health counselor because I need to talk about those feelings and I need to explain to her why I felt that way, it's not helpful. My last two counselors I've had have been Indigenous, and I didn't have to explain that to them. When I told them that I felt that way, they said, they nodded their head because I didn't have to explain it because they dealt with it. And I think that's probably the worst thing that I've had to struggle with, is having to validate my feelings of discrimination and then try and get the help on top of that. Yeah, it's defeating. So my counselor I have now is actually through First Nations University, and she's helped me immensely. And it's actually encouraged me even to find some more help for my son again. And I still have had a bit of the same fight with the system. I am looking at some more outside help for him again. And it's not even that we need like massive counseling because we're broken or anything. We both are very functional. We're actually both very successful in life. My son is just as successful as I am. He's a fantastic little guy. I think just the benefit of talking to someone when you're not feeling great, and I've actually even been told this by a counselor, unless you have a specific plan of what you need to work on, I don't know what we can do for you. And I don't know how people always know that. People don't have mental health training, People just need to talk. They just need to find someone that they can be honest about and share that stuff. So I've been thinking for the last couple of days about, we often hear that, there's a stigma around mental health. There's a stigma around asking for help. I actually wrote a poem about stigma. And I've come to realize the stigma isn't from other people. It isn't from the community. It isn't from society. The stigma comes from ourselves. It comes from that part of ourselves that doesn't want us to get help. That's the part that wants to keep us in depression, in anxiety, in fear, that tells us you don't need to go, you don't go ask for help. Help is weak, or whatever that is. And if we can come to the, once we come to the point where we realize, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm going to go get help. It has nothing to do with what anybody thinks. It's, I don't care about the part of me that's telling myself that I can't get help. That part of me that wants to keep me down. And I've also come to a point in my life where I've realized I love myself enough to get help. I have finally decided I am better than being stuck in fear and depression and anxiety and overwhelm. Overwhelm was really hard for me because I thought keeping busy and always doing things for others in my community is what kept me happy. It's actually the basis of 12 step. And it's true, helping others helps me. But if I don't help myself and keep myself healthy, I'm not loving myself. And it's really easy for people to help others so much because it makes them feel better, but yet they end up feeling worse because they take on too much. And that's where I've been at for a little while, is I realize I need to do a little bit less for others so I can do more for myself, so I can give myself more love and give my son more love from that. We deserve that. And when we have that, the quality of help that I have for others is better. So, you know, and it makes me wonder if mental health is maybe, you know, I guess it's, the word has, you know, that connotation. I know when I've talked to my son and I've said that, and he's like, what are you talking about, mental health? And so as I explain him, it's our mental well-being, very common in many cultures and mental health. We need to take care of our emotional, our mental, our physical, and our spiritual health. So mental health is just an aspect of that. So having mental health help or mental health issues isn't a bad thing. We all have those. We all have mental health needs. And some people just learn going for a walk, doing yoga, doing breathing, all that kind of stuff is mental health help. It doesn't necessarily mean we have a problem. They don't have a reason to put stigma around it. Hearing some of the other speakers for Voices to Hope talking about their mental health well-being, I was actually really empowered by that. I'm really trying to focus on that meditating. And that comes from what I was saying before, learning what I can do for myself. So I don't get to the point where I'm overwhelmed in anxiety all the time. So taking the time for myself to meditate and to breathe, and also realizing, you know, if one doesn't work for me, there's multiple different options out there of ways to receive that time for yourself. You know, sometimes I don't want to focus on anything and I just sit and stare at my front window with my coffee. You know, you can't see my coffee. Here's my coffee. At the cars going by, and I'm just happy and at peace. And I did that this morning, and it was wonderful. Unfortunately, like, it seems Monday to Friday, I don't always have the time to do that. So on a Saturday, Sunday, I really tried to do that. This spot here that you're watching me at, it turns out in the midst of COVID, this is where I am, sometimes 9-10 plus hours a day, working on work, doing schoolwork, doing all sorts of different things. I need to pull myself away. And if I can't pull myself away, I need to take a moment to meditate. And I wish I could tell you that I religiously do that every day and I'm a guru, but I'm not. I do have to force myself some days to do that. But I'm getting to a point now where I get anxious or I get overwhelmed and I can say, stop, I have some tools to do this now, right? Where I used to get those things and really like forcefully try and push through them and wait till I could either talk to my counselor about them or talk to my sponsor about them. And I don't have to do that anymore. I can now get to a point, I don't actually have to push through those feelings. Pushing through those feelings, I don't think is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to feel those feelings, feel them for what they are, and then let them go away. I very misguidedly, I guess would be the better word, I learned somewhere in my life that we just need to push through our feelings. And that didn't serve me any purpose. I need to feel my feelings. And again, it's not something I'm great at, but it's something that I now know how to do. And I now know that is how I do things. And again, that's made a massive impact on my life. There's so many messages out there. And it's like, there's not one message of hope that I could possibly give to anyone, because where we're at in our journeys is different for everyone. So with that being said, I guess my message would be, if you don't know where you're at with your journey, maybe doing some learning about where that is, you know, who you are. And that's a starting point, right? We've talked about awareness, and I have this word down here, and I really like the word awareness because it's a very programmed belief in you can't fix something if you're not aware of it. They say awareness is always the first step. So until I become aware that I may need something or want something, it just comes this nagging thing in the background that is the initiator of, you know, some uncomfortable feelings. And if I choose not to become aware of that, they stay there. And that's what kind of causes the discomfort and some of the issues we have in our life. And we can't become aware until we make a decision to become aware. It's what's called denial before that. And denial isn't a choice. Denial isn't something that most people choose to do. Denial is actually the inability to know that something is wrong. And until, for whatever reason, that denial is chosen to come off, we all are just doing the best we can to get through life. So I was told once by a wonderful person that there was 3 steps, and that was awareness, acceptance, and action. So I need to become aware that I have the problem, accept that I can choose to get help or not choose to get help, and then make action. And choosing to do nothing, believe it or not, is an action. So with that, I thank you for listening, and I hope you heard something that was helpful.